Namaskar bachcho. Once again welcome back to this virtual class. In the previous episode we have discussed about atoms and molecules. In that we have seen what is an atom and what are the various characteristics of atoms, and also we have seen some of the important concepts in atoms and molecules. The Dalton's atomic theory we have seen, mole concept we have seen, what are the various postulates of Dalton's atomic theory, about that we have seen, right? Hope you understood the concept of atom, and I believe that you have some basic idea about an atom. And in the previous section you have studied about the matter. So we know that atom is made up of a tiny particle. We call that tiny particle as atoms. And studying about atom is so important because all the matter is made up of the smallest particle called atoms. In the previous section we have seen about the relative atomic mass of an atom and relative atomic mass of various compounds. So compounds of elements we have seen, compounds of molecules we have seen. And these concepts are very, very important, as when you go to higher classes this will help you. So when you go to higher classes you should have this basic idea, so that you can learn the concepts, further concepts very easily. So dear children, I believe that whatever the things you learnt in the previous episode are understood. With that understanding we move further to learn the next chapter in the chemistry portion of your 9th class, that is the structure of atom. Under the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory we have learned that all the matter is made up of tiny particles, and these tiny particles are called atoms, and these atoms are indivisible particles. According to Dalton's atomic theory we have learned that every matter is made up of tiny particles, and Dalton named this particle as atoms, and he postulated that this atom cannot be further divided into smaller one. This is what we studied in Dalton's atomic theory. And we have also studied that matter is made up of the smallest particle, and that smallest particle cannot be seen with our eyes, naked eyes, or even with magnifying glass also we cannot see the structure of atom. Dear children, in the previous section we have seen that atoms and molecules are the basic fundamental building block of all the matter that exists in the universe, and we see different matter in the universe because of different kinds of elements and atoms present in the universe. Now the question is, what factor makes different elements or atoms exist in the universe? We have learned that matter that exists in the universe are made up of elements and the molecules. When we talk about atoms and the molecules, two questions will come out. The first question is, what factor of one atom of an element is different from the atom of another element? Number two, in the previous section we have studied that in Dalton's atomic theory the atoms are indivisible. Are these atoms are really indivisible? So if we try to answer these questions, several conclusions will come out. About that we will see now. Until 19th century it was believed that atom is an indivisible particle which cannot be further divided. But by experiment it was found that atoms have some subatomic particles, or we can say that atoms can be further divided into smaller one, as atoms contain some charged particles. From the static electricity it was found that atoms contain some charged particles in it. It was found that atoms can be divided. So the postulate which was given by Dalton's atomic theory, that atoms cannot be further divided, it was the drawback of Dalton's atomic theory, as atoms have some charged particles in it. What are those charged particles? About that we will see. From the static electricity it was found that atoms contain some charged particles and how these charged particles behave and what are the charged particles present in an atom, about that we will discuss. Now we see about the static electricity.
Firstly, we should know what electricity is. In simple words, electricity is the flow of charge through a substance. Here, static electricity means that the charge produced on the surface of a material are found to be static, that is, not able to flow from one end to another. This means the charges are accumulated on a particular region where we rub or apply friction. While applying friction, what happens? The charge is accumulated over a certain region. Look at the video in which a plastic straw is rubbed with a woolen cloth. While doing so, the charges present in the atoms of either straw or woolen cloth are concentrated on a particular region where we apply frictional force by rubbing. After rubbing the straw with a woolen cloth, charges are acquired on a region, or we can say that the straw is charged and it can attract other oppositely charged particle or uncharged particle. This way of accumulating charges over a certain region of a material is called static electricity, and the force exerted is called electrostatic force. So, when this charged straw is brought near the bits of paper, then it attracts them towards it. However, when the charged straw is left for some time, then the straw gets discharged as the opposite charges are there in the atom, and these oppositely charged particles attract towards itself, thereby making the entire material neutral. The same experiment can also be done with other materials like plastic pen, ebonite rod and other insulators. From the static electricity experiment, it was found that the atoms which was earlier considered to be indivisible was not true, since it has some charged particles. So the static electricity gave scientists an evidence for the existence of further smaller particles in the atoms. This way, static electricity helped to understand the atoms, and atoms can further be divided as it contains some charges in it.
From the video, I believe that you understood what is static electricity and how charge is acquired by a body. And also you learned that for finding static electricity, we have taken insulator as an example. We could have used some metals also for finding static electricity. Children, as you know that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. When the metal objects are rubbed, the charge will be acquired on the metal surface, but due to their electrical conductivity, the charge acquired at one end will be passed up to the other end. The charge acquired on a metal surface will not remain in one place, rather they transfer from one end to another end, as we know that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity, whereas plastics and glass rod are an example of insulators which does not conduct electricity. So plastic materials do not conduct electricity. As we rub these materials with a dry surface, the charge will be acquired on it, and the acquired charge will be at one point, and these charge will not move from one place to another. So this way we can see static electricity only on insulators, not in metal conductors. From static electricity we know that when an atom is rubbed, it acquires a charge. That means the charge is from the atom. From the experiment of static electricity, we came to know that atoms have charge in it. What are those charges? When we talk about atoms, atoms have three different charges. What are they? Number one is protons, which have positively charged, as we have seen earlier in the experiment of static electricity, and electrons, finally the neutrons. Now we will see the discovery of electron.
From the static electricity, it was clear that the atoms have charges in it. So with that charge, the bits of paper got attracted. So this gave some evidence about the existence of charges in the atom. The existence of electrons in an atom was shown to the world by J.J. Thomson in the year 1897. To find this, he had taken a discharge tube. A discharge tube is a tube, as you can see in the picture, containing charged electrodes and filled with a gas in which high voltage is applied to ionize the gas particles, which you can see on the screen. Here you will find two electrodes which are kept inside the discharge tube, and these electrodes are connected to two terminals of a battery which can produce high voltage of about 10,000 volt. The electrodes are the conducting rods which can conduct electricity. The electrode which is connected to positive terminal of a battery is called anode, and the other electrode which is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode. With this setup, Thomson started his experiment when he passed electricity at high voltage through a gas at very low pressure taken in a discharge tube. He could see streams of minute particles were given out by the cathode, that is negative electrode which is connected to the negative end of the battery. These streams of particles he named as cathode rays, and these cathode rays consist of small negatively charged particles, and he named these negatively charged particles as electrons. He found similar kind of observation with different gases. Since all the gases formed cathode rays, so it was concluded by him that all the atom contain negatively charged particles called electrons. According to Thomson, he believed that the gas taken in the discharge tube consists of atoms, and all the atoms contain electrons. When high voltage is applied, then the electrical energy pushes out some electrons from the atoms of the gas particles. These electrons move at very high speed. These fast moving electrons form cathode rays. That means when the cathode rays are moving from the negative end to the positive end, these cathode rays contain negatively charged particles called electrons. Thus, the formation of cathode rays shows that one of the subatomic particle present in all the atoms is the negatively charged particle called electron. So, an electron is usually represented by the symbol e to the power minus. Here E refers to electron and minus indicates that the negative charge. Based on Thomson's experiment, two important characteristics for an atom were came out, that is its mass and charge. From the past learning, we know that atom occupies some space and have some mass, and from the knowledge of static electricity, we came to know that atom contain at least one charged particle. So, whenever we talk about electrons, electrons must have some mass and also it must have some charge. So, what will be the mass and what will be the charge of an electron, about that we will see. By experiment, it was found that the mass of electron is about 1 by 1840th of mass of hydrogen. That means, if you take mass of hydrogen as 1, then mass of electron would be 1 by 1840 of the mass of hydrogen. Since we learnt in the previous episode that the mass of hydrogen atom is taken as 1 U. So, we can say that the relative mass of electron is 1 by 1840 U. However, the absolute mass of an electron is found to be 9 into 10 to the power minus 28 gram. And the mass of an electron is so small that it is considered to be negligible. So only we ignore mass of electrons while calculating atomic mass of an element. While calculating the mass of an element, we never take mass of electron, as the mass of electron is very small and we consider it to be negligible. When we talk about charge of an electron, the absolute charge is considered, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. here coulomb is the unit of charge. So whenever we talk about charge, then its unit must be written. So here the unit of charge is coulomb. So the absolute charge of an electron is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb of negative charges. So here electron is a negatively charged particle, so the charge will be in negative. This value has been taken as the unit of negative charge. When we talk about the charge of an electron, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb of negative charges, it is considered to be a unit charge. This means an electron has 1 unit negative charge, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So in order to make the calculation process easy, instead of using this large value, we can use the unit charge. In other words, we can say that the relative charge of an electron is minus 1. Since the charge is for electron, so here minus indicates the negative charge and 1 is the unit negative charge. This is how electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson by using a discharge tube, and believed that at least one subatomic particle is present in an atom.
From the video, I believe that you understood what is an electron and how the electrons are represented. So now we will see about protons, how proton was discovered.
In the previous section, we learned that cathode rays contain negative charges, and these negative charges we called it as electrons, and all the atoms of the element contain these negative charges called electrons. So the formation of cathode rays has shown that all the atoms contain electrons, but in nature the molecules that exist are neutral as a whole, which shows that the atoms from which molecules or matter are formed would also be neutral. If an atom has negative charges, then it must contain positive charges also to balance the negative charge of electrons, so that the atom as a whole become neutral. Later on, it was found by experiment that all the atoms contain positively charged particles called protons. The existence of positive charges called protons in the atoms was shown by E. Goldstein. To find this, Goldstein also used a discharged tube, and the arrangement of experiment was similar to what we have seen in discovery of electrons. The negative electrode in his experiment, the negative electrode, that is cathode, was taken to be perforated. When Goldstein passed electricity at high voltage through a gas at very low pressure taken in a discharge tube, he observed that streams of heavy particles were given out by anode, that is positive electrode. These streams of particles are called anode rays. Anode rays consist of positively charged particles. The mass and charge of the anode ray particles were found to be different for different gases taken in the test tube. This has shown that the mass and charge of the anode ray particles depend on the nature of gas taken in the discharge tube. In the experiment, he found that different gases give different types of anode rays, which contain positively charged particles with different masses and different charges. Hydrogen gas is the lightest gas and hydrogen atom is the lightest atom. So the positive particles obtained from hydrogen are the lightest and have the smallest charge. And he found that the anode rays obtained from hydrogen gas were made up of same type of positive particles. These particles are called protons. Thus, the anode rays obtained from hydrogen gas consist of protons. A proton is formed by the removal of an electron from a hydrogen atom. According to Goldstein, when he applied high voltage to hydrogen gas taken in a discharge tube, then the electrical energy from the applied source removes the electron from the hydrogen atoms. After removal of an electron from a hydrogen atom, a positively charged particle called proton is formed. these protons move at very high speed. These fast moving protons pass through the perforated cathode and hit the wall of the discharge tube indicated by a stream of sparks on the wall. So, this way proton was discovered by Goldstein. When we talk about mass of a proton, then the relative mass of proton is considered to be 1 U and the absolute mass of proton is found to be 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. And when we talk about the charge of a proton, the relative charge of proton is taken, which is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb of positive charge. Here 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb of positive charge is taken as a unit, and this unit is equal to the value what we have seen now. The formation of cathode rays and anode rays on passing electricity through gases at very low pressure in a discharge tube tells us that atom is not indivisible. It is made up of smaller particles too. Actually, the formation of cathode rays tells us that atoms contain negatively charged particles called electrons inside them, whereas the formation of anode rays tells us that atoms contain positively charged particles, we call them protons. This way electrons and protons were discovered. Electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson, whereas proton was discovered by Goldstein.
From the explanation, I believe that you understood what is a proton and how the charge on the proton is represented. Now we will see about neutron, how neutron was discovered and what will be the charge of neutron in an atom and how it contributes to an atom for making its mass.
After the discovery of protons and electrons, it was noticed that all the mass of an atom cannot be accounted for on the basis of only protons and electrons. In the previous section, we have seen that electrons, the mass of electrons are very small and considered to be negligible. So, we can say that the contribution of electrons for the mass of an atom is almost negligible. So, electrons are not to be taken while calculating mass of an atom. For example, if a carbon atom is taken, then it contains 6 protons and 6 electrons. Now, the mass of electron is so small that it can be ignored. In the previous chapter, we have studied atomic mass of carbon is 12 U. In the previous section, we have seen that the proton contributes to the mass. So, we can say that mass of an atom will be equal to the proton. But from the previous experience, we know that the atomic mass of carbon was found to be 12, but here the number of proton is 6. So, the total mass of carbon will become 6 U, but actual mass of carbon was found to be 12 U. If protons alone contribute for the mass of an atom, then the mass of carbon atom will become 6 U only. Then how do we explain this extra mass of 6 units? This problem was solved by the discovery of another subatomic particle in an atom by James Chadwick in the year 1932. This particle is called neutron. The neutron is a neutral particle found in the nucleus of an atom. Atoms of all the elements contain neutrons except ordinary hydrogen atom, which does not contain any neutron. Whenever an hydrogen atom loses an electron, the only thing that is present in the hydrogen atom will be the proton. That is why the hydrogen ion is also called as proton. Thus, the subatomic particle not present in a hydrogen atom is neutron. A hydrogen atom contains only one proton and one electron. A neutron is represented by the symbol N. When we talk about mass of a neutron, the mass of a neutron is equal to the mass of a proton. or we can say that the relative mass of a neutron is 1 U. The absolute mass of neutron is found to be 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. In the previous section, we have seen that the charge of an electron will be 1 negative charge and the charge of a proton will be 1 positive charge. What will be the charge of a neutron? Children, neutron has no charge, it is electrically neutral. We are now in a position to explain why the atomic mass of carbon is 12. The mass of carbon atom is 12 because the mass of an atom is the sum total of total number of protons and neutrons present in an atom. Together the mass of protons and the neutron give you the mass of an atom. So, the atomic mass of carbon, which we have discussed earlier. So, we know that the atomic mass of carbon is 12 and mass of proton is 6. So, the mass of neutron will become 6 neutron. So, the mass of 6 proton plus mass of 6 neutron is equal to the mass of carbon atom. So, the atomic mass of an atom is decided by the sum total of mass of protons and mass of neutrons.
So, from the video, I believe that you understood how neutrons are discovered and what is the charge. And we have seen that 3 different types of charges are present in the atom. They are electrons, protons and neutrons. And from the previous video, you learned that the mass of an atom is decided by the mass of the protons and the neutrons. And also you have seen that electrons are nothing to contribute for its mass. So, the mass of the atom is very well decided by the mass of the protons and the electrons in an atom. So, from the video and the explanation, I believe that you understood the subatomic particles present in an atom. And by taking all these subatomic particles in an atom, we try to give a structure to an atom. When we talk about matter, it must have some mass and it must occupy some space. So, we found out that the building block of a matter is an atom. So, atom must have some space and have some mass. When the atom has some mass and occupies some space, definitely it must have some structure. What could be the structure of an atom? Whether it is in a spherical shape, rectangular, triangular, exactly what should be the structure of an atom, we don't know. So, various scientists came forward to give structure to an atom. Firstly, J.J. Thomson came forward to give structure. How the structure of an atom was given by J.J. Thomson. So, based on today's learning experience, I would like to give some easy home assignments which you can practice at home. Here is your home assignment. Hope you will find it easy to do all these home assignments. That's all we have for today's class. In the next episode, we will be seeing the remaining portion of the structure of atom. Till then, take good care of yourself. Bye.